Flour, butter, water. We're making pie crust. 2.5 cups of flour, sifted. Half a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of sugar, grate a half a pound of frozen butter. If you don't want to grate it, just cut it into small little cubes. Take your grated butter and you're going to work it into your flour mixture. You can use a pastry cutter, 2 knives, a fork, or your fingers. Don't let the butter melt. I'm going to cut this in with my pastry blender. And I'm probably going to do this for a little bit and then I'll go to my fingers. Pie crust is not complicated and it doesn't take long. You just have to remember to keep everything cold because the butter cannot melt. You can't put melted butter and flour mixed in the oven. It just won't make those fluffy layers. Now I'm just going to use my fingers and I'm not going to play around with it too long. I just want to blend all the big chunks of butter. I want to make sure they get right into that flour. Six tablespoons of ice water or as much as you need to get this to come together. There's really no saying how much exact water you need because it depends on the room, the humidity, and your ingredients and how it blends together. But I'm gonna do something that I saw a very old woman on a YouTube channel do. And she's been doing pies a long time. So I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna use a spatula and I'm gonna mix this in together until it forms with my spatula. And then I'll know when it's ready. And it worked for her, so. And this way your hands is not making the dough warmer. So she kind of just like kept pressing it in. And actually she didn't even measure her water. She said she never knows how much. She just knows when it comes together. It's almost there. Just those little bits to the bottom. And she kind of put the water on the little dry bits. You gotta have a sturdy spatula for this. And when it all came together like that, it was ready. Thank you, lady on the YouTube channel, of which I don't even remember which one I was watching. So I can't even give you credit. I'm so sorry. If you overwork your dough, your crust is gonna be tough. So you really just want this to come together. And because this is gonna make 2 top and bottom, we're just gonna do it in half. And the bottom needs to be a little bigger than the top, not quite equal. And then we're gonna put this in the fridge for at least 30 minutes. I think it can stay in the fridge for up to a week, maybe more. And you could definitely freeze this. And we've come to the best part, putting our pie together. I'm using a deep dish pie pan and it's made for apple pie. It actually has a recipe on the inside that I've never used, but here it is. Maybe one day I'll actually try this one. Let's go get our cold dough. Ready. I'm using the bigger one because the bigger one is for the bottom because you have to do the bottom and the sides, whereas the top one just goes over. So that's the logic behind that. A little bit of flour. Let's get some of that flour off, that's too much. So you're gonna press, because it is gonna come out the fridge kind of hard. And you're never gonna make a perfect circle, so if that's your goal, you're never gonna get there, okay? I'm telling you now. And as you touch it with your hands, it's gonna warm up. So you wanna start off really cold, and then you can kind of start to roll it out. You wanna make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom. And it gets easier as it flattens out. It is a workout. And if you're thinking you're gonna get these sides all nice and perfect, you ain't. And remember, you don't see the bottom crust. You eat it, but you don't see it. Just gonna do a little more. Roll it up carefully on your rolling pin. Gently, just unroll it. And carefully lift it up so it can fall in the pie dish. And you could trim with a knife or just tear it for right now, just the little edges. You're gonna save them. You can make little mini pies with those or like turnovers. And while we roll out the top, we're gonna just stick this in the fridge to keep it nice and cold. And if your pie crust seems like it's coming apart, you just squish it together. and you keep rolling. And if it's a total mess, you could always ball it up and start again. You just have to make sure and chill it when you're done. I have this cute little pie cutter that makes the outside really pretty, so I'm dying to use this. Our bottom crust has been chilling, and we're gonna put in our pie filling. We're gonna unroll our pie crust over. And if there's any holes, just go ahead and pinch it together. We're gonna cut the edges with a sharp knife, but we wanna leave a little bit to kind of fold over. Now you know your pie don't have to be fancy looking to taste good, right? You're gonna put ice cream on it anyway. And you're gonna double over and fold under your crust, and you wanna make sure it has a good seal. So all those pie juices could just stay in the pie. And if you need another piece to kind of patch up some areas, go ahead and just put it together. It's never gonna be perfect. And I don't think it's supposed to be perfect. I think it's supposed to look a little rustic. We're gonna crimp this. And what would happen if you don't put any holes in it? Well, your pie is gonna find its own holes. Maybe one hole and it all leaks all over your oven. So you wanna make sure vent it real good. And with the crust that we punched out, we're just gonna use a little bit of water. And we're just gonna stick it on there just to make it a little extra pretty. Brush it with an egg that's beaten. You want to be very light around the crust. You know that's going to get brown on its own. Sprinkle it with some sugar. We're going to pop this in the fridge for 5 minutes while we prep our cookie sheet. Put it on a cookie sheet with foil to catch any drippings. And also if the edges are getting too brown, you can always just put up that crust and fold it over and kind of protect those edges. We're gonna bake at 425 for 15 minutes and then turn it down to 350 for another 40 minutes, 45 minutes, just until it's nice and golden bubbly brown. My pie has been in the oven for a total of an hour, 15 minutes at 425, and then I put it to 350 and I went on the computer and I totally lost track of time. I did not even check to see if it was burning. I just left it. And when the buzzer went off, I was like, oh, I was supposed to check on this. But when I looked at it, it just looks so perfect. So let me show you how beautiful my pie is. Now, I don't know about you, but I am hungry for this pie, and I have some nice cold vanilla ice cream in the freezer. But you have to wait 4 hours before you can cut it. You have to let the juices all settle and thicken. Right now, if you cut into it, it's just gonna leak and seep. 4 hours is a long time, and I'm hungry for this pie. But I still have to wait at least an hour. The minimum is at least 1 hour. But to encourage it to cool quicker, I'm gonna take it off the cookie sheet and I'm just gonna put it right here. I get these from Guatemala. My husband's family brings them to me. Oh, I love them. But anything, you know, a trivet, I don't know what y'all call them. It'll help it to cool faster. So 1 hour. And you can see that 1 hour was not enough. This pie is still hot and all the juices are in the pan. So delicious. And if you want to make a pastry that is amazing and so much like the original, you have to watch my Pop-Tart video. Like, my son he didn't believe I did it. He still doesn't believe I did it. And I did do it. You have to watch it. They were literally just like Pop-Tarts, just 100% better.